Hi, everyone. Thank you. As mentioned, I am the managing director of the West team for Grow America. I just want to make clear, but we are a national nonprofit. We are the new, as some of you guys have heard, the new technical assistance provider for the Revolving Loan Fund for US EPA. So I wanted to just come here and introduce ourselves and talk about what we're going to be doing, and just also talk about how revolving loan funds can help you. This slide is just going to tell you guys a little bit about who we are. For those of you that don't know, our previous name was National Development Council, or NDC. So you may have heard of us under our former name, but we were established in 1969, so we are the nation's oldest nonprofit provider of community and economic development, technical assistance, and training in the United States. So we've been around for a minute. We direct capital to support the development and preservation of affordable housing, the creation of jobs through training and small business lending, and the advancement of livable communities. So we do a lot of different things. People keep asking me, what do you guys do? Well, I'm on our technical assistance side. So I work with cities and counties and nonprofits across the United States. Usually for us, it's on the West Coast, helping them figure out how to use their federal local funds, put together programs, put together plans, all of that stuff. We are also a technical assistance provider and program operator for the US EDA Revolving Loan Fund Community of Practice. So that actually inspired us to apply to US EPA for their Revolving Loan Fund Technical Assistance Program. So we help cities and counties build capacity. So if any of you guys do have an EDA RLF, there is also additional help out there for that as well. Our partner for this particular grant is ICMA. How many people here have heard of ICMA? Yeah. ICMA is a great partner, and as you guys probably know, they are the partner of US EPA to put together the national conference. And I'm going to do the plug. The national conference is in August, early August of this next year, and it will be in Chicago. Please come. We will have a revolving loan fund tract as part of that. So we will be doing a lot of instruction on that. So what are we doing with this technical assistance? So we're going to be building partnerships. We're going to be establishing an officer academy. We're going to be building an on-ramp for prospective applicants. So if you currently have a revolving loan fund, come talk to us. We actually have a sign up for our website that we're building out. We're going to be building out cohort training programs. So we're going to try and get a place where you guys can talk to people not just in cities next to you, but cities across the country. And you're going to be able to pull down resources. CClear and KSU and the other tabs already have some of these things, but we're going to try and build on what they have and grow it. We're going to do peer-to-peer exchanges, and we're also going to be holding additional in-person meetings. Like I said, we're going to add some additional stuff to the national conference, so you don't have to go one more place. But I was having conversations here about partnering with CClear and others to do more of a Western brownfield workshop, where we're working not only in California, but with Arizona and other places in Region 9, but also talking to Region 10 as a partner. So trying to see if we can build out more, so you're not just communicating in this room with people from your same state, but from other communities, so you can learn from them. And we're going to develop a network and an advisory council from the people that are working in these programs currently. So this is kind of an example of the cohorts that we have for our EDA program. So this is kind of what it would look like. You'll notice that a lot of this is regional right now, so you can do kind of a region or a specific state, or you can be like, we want a cohort that talks about how to do underwriting or something like that. Because one of the biggest things I'm finding is people don't know how to do underwriting. And guess what we do training on? How to do underwriting. Yay! I have my colleagues in the audience that can help you. Then this is just an online toolkit sample, just showing you kind of how you guys can access some of the items. You'll be able to search for certain things like, oh, I need to know what a successful loan document looks like. You'll be able to pull down what other people have used as samples, so you can take it to your attorneys and say, all right, we need to do this and stuff. So this is a quick timeline of what we're going to be doing. You can see a lot of it's front-loaded, but we are going to be wanting to talk with stakeholders, people that are current RLF holders right now, that you are brand new or you are applying right now. We want to know what you don't know, what you need help with, because we want to make sure that we give you access to those things. I don't want to fill gaps that aren't there. Our goal is to fill gaps that we have. So we want to talk with everybody about what you guys need to make sure we are doing the right things. We are currently working on the website. There will be a microsite that you can access some documents from, but you will also be able to access through a login additional items like webinars and stuff like that, like you guys get from CClear. They'll just be an addition to what they do. We are going to be doing a training academy to make sure that you guys can talk to each other and learn. One of the biggest things I'm learning at this conference is there's a lot of new people. We need to do a Brownfield 101 and make sure that everybody understands all the millions of acronyms out there. And then, creating an on-ramp for new applicants. Like, why do you want to apply for an RLF? What does that mean? What does that look like? And we're going to be holding, as I said, RLF meetings. So this is our generic timeline. Just kind of want to talk about, obviously, the brownfield process. First you do is identify a site. And I want to make it clear, when you identify a site, it's real or perceived contamination. It does not necessarily mean that it actually has contamination. If people think it does, until you test it, they don't know, and it's a brownfield. Just make sure you guys, that's a definition of a brownfield. And then you're going to assess it. And if it's not, guess what? You're done. You have a clean site. Yay. If it is, you're going to work towards cleanup. You're going to have to put together a cleanup plan and do the cleanup. This is where the Revolving Loan Fund comes into play. That's when you can loan out to have people clean up sites. And then hopefully one day you get to redevelop it and see a beautiful new site. So brownfield redevelopment seeks to environmentally assess existing brownfield properties, prevent further contamination, safely clean up polluted properties, and design plans for reuse. That's the whole point of what we're doing. And why do we care? Well, it's contamination of real property. And we want to make sure that if we get it clean, it can be valued. It can increase revenue to your cities and help you invest in more things in your communities, and removes that stigma of blight. And sprawl is a big deal for all of us. And I live in Long Beach, California. I don't think we can sprawl. There's nowhere to sprawl, so you do infill, and that's a brownfield typically. So how do RLFs help? So when you have a revolving loan fund, you get to set the terms. Now, EPA wants to see you set some kind of terms, but you get to set the terms. What does it look like to get paid back? What's the interest rate? How do you do this? You need to underwrite it. The reason you need to underwrite it is you want to make sure you're doing good projects, that somebody's not coming to.
So at DTSC, we had a state RLF. It took us 15 years to revolve out, as you know, and we got all of our money out like in the span of 6 months, and now it's coming back. And we'd love to have this money again, but from our perspective, we need people to give it to, right? Because we're not going to use it ourselves. And I'm just wondering if we do, as a state agency, think about applying again, what kind of support could we get from NDC in then getting the money out once we have it, assuming we get it?
Well, the support you can get from Grow America, she'll get it eventually, is, obviously, we're going to be there to do technical assistance. The idea is to have you be able to communicate with more organizations across the United States. And so bring in some of the successful RLF. How did they do the outreach? I mean, Miriam, you and I have had many discussions about how do we find the projects and stuff. Sometimes the idea is maybe some of the funding can be used as a grant, so maybe you pair it with a loan. You say, all right, hey, we have a grant, as long as you take a loan, it can be a 50-50 or a 20-80 or something like that. We're in it only to nonprofits, and government, just want to make that clear. It can't be for-profit, but it can help you find those or target some low income. I mean, for lack of, I know we don't want to always have brownfields on or low income housing on brownfields, but sometimes, those developers are nonprofit developers. So they're the ones that you can talk to and say, hey, do you have any projects that you're trying to work on, but brownfields is a problem? So having these conferences and having, and inviting some of the developers maybe is an opportunity to have those conversations. But the idea is, so we'd have cohorts, we'd have an ability to talk with communities across the United States, see how they've been successful in getting their money out, talk to you about how you did get your money out finally, after 15 years, and see what we can do to fix that. What is the problem, the interest rate? Is the problem the underwriting? Is it the problem the timing? Sometimes those are the problems, and how do we fix those things? Sure. And I'm just going to go back to the one that I did when I worked for the city of Sacramento because it's just easy. I worked for the city of Sacramento 15 years ago. And we had a project that was a former rail yard, and the developer was working on cleaning it up. And he had a portion of the parcel that had a separate cleanup plan. And he came to us asking us for funding. And I said, we have a revolving loan fund. We can do a $500,000 loan at 5% interest for interest only for 5 years for you. And he said, okay. And I said, it triggers Davis-Bacon, by the way. It will trigger it on your entire project that is under that cleanup plan. Luckily for him, he had a separate cleanup plan for this parcel than the rest of the project. So it did not trigger Davis-Bacon for the rest of the project, but it did for his particular site. And so we worked with him. We had to underwrite it. I had to get financials from him. I had to take to our loan committee and explain to them how he was doing the development, what his projection was. And the idea was at the 5-year mark, he either needed to pay us or he had to find a way to refinance it. And he did get another funding source at that time to pay that off, and therefore the city of Sacramento was able to revolve that funding and has money to lend out or grant out in the future. So that was a simple project. I will say I got lucky because we had a large project and he was able to do a smaller portion of it because of that. But that is one thing I do caution about, is just talk with your developers, see what kind of site they're doing. It is limited funding, so you want to see what you can leverage out there. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Okay, I had a question. We're working on a resilience hub, and they may need like a temporary construction loan, essentially, and then to roll it over into a longer term loan. You said 5%, I don't how are you, I'm still learning about the whole CDFI world, but how are you different than a CDFI? How are your interest rates? Are you a CDFI? Are your interest rates different? And how would you trigger prevailing wage, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, on projects?
So we're not doing the lending. I just want to make sure I'm clear on that. I gave an example of a project I did working for the city of Sacramento. The city of Sacramento was the lender. They were the ones that did the loan. So they are different because they are government. We actually are a CDFI, but we are not an RLF recipient. We do not have an RLF grant. We are the technical assistance provider. So we're here to help you people that have RLFs figure out how to use them. So does that help?
But you can tell him the question about how RLFs work. Just to answer, even though you don't do it, you can
right.
answer it, yeah.
So RLFs are, so you apply to EPA and you can get a grant. There's cleanup grants, there's assessment grants, but then there's also this revolving loan fund grant. If you are a city, you can get a grant that's a revolving loan fund, and then you turn around and set up a program to lend out to others for cleanup. So cities, as a CDFI, we could apply, We just haven't, but we could apply technically and do revolving loan fund loans if we were to have it. As a city, you know, a city of Sacramento or the state of California, they have their own they applied, they got their grants, and they turn around and they lend it out to developers, nonprofits, other government agencies, other funds within their own city, that kind of thing. Okay, and I think that's it. And so if you guys want, we have a booth, feel free to come by. I'm gonna be at karaoke, so feel free.